Lovely and darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy. This time I'm going to do a watch list since I haven't been reading a whole lot. It's hard to sit down and concentrate on a book. I've started in the last week or so listening to audiobooks and graphic novels, but that first week of being in isolation did not read anything. So here's what I've been watching in the month of March 2020 and more recently. Been using a lot of different streaming services. So, also, what do you guys think of my pantry? And also my comic book collection. Just thought I'd plunge right into it. Oh, and our board games. Yes, we are filming in a new location, aka the dining room today, as I'm avoiding the downstairs neighbor's television. Another fun part of being in isolation is getting to hear his television 24/7. Which is usually fine because I just put on headphones, and they're doing a pretty good job of noise canceling, but it doesn't work for filming YouTube videos, obviously. So, opposite end of the house today. First up, we've been watching Amazon Prime. My brother's had it for the last month or so, but also he's getting rid of it soon, so I've been trying to binge watch as much as I can of those shows. So the big ones I've been watching since I've been in isolation have been nonfiction documentary type shows with a high entertainment value still. So I've been watching Museum Secrets. So this is a sort of documentary type show where they go into museums and they pick 5 artifacts that have secrets behind them, which are really lesser known histories, and they start telling those stories. So it's all kinds of really cool museums throughout the world. They go to Versailles in France, Smithsonian's Aviation Museum, some really, really cool artifacts and stories behind them. They try to test things out too. So one of the museums had this really old suit of armor and a chest plate that has a spring action thing in it. They were trying to figure it out because they're missing part of it. So they have a shield, and they're trying to figure out how it worked and recreate the missing piece based on the mechanics. And it's also cool to see how much technology they really had back in the Middle Ages or ancient Greece. So that's really fascinating, and also getting to see all these museums. There is one in Russia which is an old palace, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Getting to see a lot of these really old museums from around the world is just in and of itself amazing. So that's been my top one that I've been absolutely fascinated by. I've also been watching James May, Our Man in Japan. So this is a travel documentary where James May travels through Japan over the course of 6 weeks, 6 episodes. And he starts in northern Japan where it's snowy to go down to southern Japan. And he does a good mix of exploring not only traditional Japanese customs, but also more modern day Japan. So he gets into the manga and the really cool technology, but he's also talking about sumo wrestlers and samurais, and they have dog sleds in northern Japan, which I didn't even think about, and talking about the cultural aspects of it. So that was really cool to just get to mentally travel to another country. Highly recommend that one. Also sticking with James May, I've been watching James May's Toy Stories. So this is a documentary where he talks about these childhood toys that have survived, that people still enjoy today and passed on to their kids, but ups the ante a lot. So he built an entire house out of Legos. Or they tried to break the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest model train track, and so he's connecting these 2 cities that have a defunct railroad that no longer works, but trying to set up a model railroad alongside the old tracks. He also enlists the public's help. So there's one where he's building a supersized model airplane, and so he has a school class of high schoolers help him do it. Or the one with the train, the entire town in that village helped him lay the tracks down. So it's really cool to see the history of these toys. See toys in England that are kind of similar to stuff we have in the US. So plasticine, which is this waxy Play-Doh type thing that they use, whereas in the US we pretty much use Play-Doh in school. So it's got a slightly different consistency and works a little bit better, but also it's got a greasy, weird look to it. I guess if I'd grown up with it, it would be different, but so yeah. Cultural differences. I've also been watching the Addams Family, the 1960s original television show. So that's fun. It's a good sitcom to just kind of zone out on too. and have some like quirky moments happening. It's really good when I'm playing The Simpsons Tapped Out and I'm like kind of watching, but also kind of not, because I'm trying to like get my city, collect all my points. So I really love the Addams Family. I love the movie, especially the 90s ones are the best, but also the new movie's great. So getting to see the television show and like kind of the origins of it. Like I know there were comics before it, but like they weren't, the 60s television show were really solidified into like, this is the Addams Family, this is their name, this is how this family actually works and operates in the world. I love it. I also love how accepting the Addams Family is. Like, they're so weird, but like if they meet a normal person, they try to be accommodating to like the fact that they have a different lifestyle. And Gomez is up for like, he's a millionaire and he's up for supporting people when like people try to con him out of money, and he's like just as likely to just be like, oh, here's some money. Is that what all you needed? Okay, no biggie. Other shows I've watched in the past on Amazon Prime, even though I haven't necessarily been watching it in March, were Good Omens. The one based off the book by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. I liked it so much that I actually bought it on DVD. So I have not been watching it now on Prime because I know I can watch it anytime. But it's really amazing. It's a really comedic sci-fi show about the end of the world. I don't know how well it holds up now that we're literally feel like we're in Armageddon, but also The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's about a female Jewish comedian in New York as she tries to break into the business. But she also has a habit of just like starting her acts where she just starts randomly talking and gets herself into so much trouble because she gets caught up in like the excitement and the laughter and like doesn't think about how much she should actually be sharing. Highly amusing. And also Horrible Histories, which is a BBC children's show, and it's like a sketch comedy show where they introduce history. So I love the comedic comedy sketches, which are just hysterical. They play off a lot of different tropes. So like there's the British Bake Off type thing where they have like historical master chef is what they call it, and they have different different dishes from history, but like the weirdest and absurd dishes you could possibly think of. Historical wife swap, where they have two different people from two completely different time periods and places swap wives, and like how they're like dealing with that. There's so many like hysterical parts of this, and the host of the whole show is a rat. Like the whole thing is just hysterical. I love Horrible Histories, and I love also digging into British history because it's stuff that I didn't really spend a lot of time learning in school. Like we learned the Tudors, and that was our introduction to this is how royal families work, because it was so condensed and all these weird things happened with like the wives and like reframing the whole religious system, all of that. But we didn't spend a lot of time dealing with like the Georgian kings or the Plantagenet kings that came before the Tudors, or even like Victorian England, like Queen Victoria. We didn't spend a lot of time studying in school, so that was fascinating. And then the only movie I have on this list, because I've been watching movies and I'll like watch one and be like, okay, that was good, not so great. But the most amazing one I watched is Late Night, which is on Amazon Prime. This has Mindy Kaling and Emma Thompson in it, and it's about Emma Thompson's character who's been on television for like 30 years or something and has been like a staple of late night television. But like she is still stuck in like the 90s and the early 2000s and hasn't caught up to technology and the tropes, and like late night television and comedy has evolved in the last 2 decades and without her. And so her ratings are declining, and even though she's still winning awards, the network wants to take her off the air and replace her, and it's her fighting back, but also from the perspective of a brand new writer to her show who has no experience writing comedy, late night comedy. So we get to see this character, Mindy Kaling's character, entering that, but also she's the only female and only not white person on the writing staff. So it's absolutely hysterical. I really love it. I've watched it like 3 times already. Like, it's that good. It's one of those movies that as soon as I watch it, like, I want to watch it again. So that's Amazon. This past week, I've also gotten CBS All Access so that I could watch Picard. So I have already watched all of Picard in like the matter of a couple days. It was awesome. This is a new Star Trek series based off Captain Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek The Next Generation, but setting it further into the future, and it really finally reconciles part of what was happening with the rebooted movies where they changed everything. And we're finally getting to go into the future and see the aspects of that. Also, I love Next Generation. It's my favorite cast, so getting to see Picard again and also the characters from that show reappearing is amazing. I absolutely love Picard. So, highly recommend. I haven't watched this time, but I have watched in the past is Star Trek Discovery. So I've seen seasons 1 and 2 because they've been out on DVD. So I got them out of the library. Season 1 of Discovery was not that great. It was trying too hard to be other sci-fi shows when I really just wanted Star Trek. I wanted a Star Trek show that was Star Trek. And Discovery wasn't. They had a ship and it was traveling, but like they were trying to do too much with like Klingon Empire and doing like season-long arcs, and not a fan. Season 2 improved vastly as they tried to like rein it back in and fit it into like the rest of Star Trek. Like, you can't have Star Trek that happens before the original series but has technology that doesn't exist anywhere else in Star Trek yet. Like, that's just, sci-fi me hates that so much. So, Discovery, I have mixed feelings about. Season 2 got vastly better, but I'm not exactly thrilled about season 3 coming. I kind of feel like Season 2 is a great place. We kind of wrapped it up. We should move on. Picard, though, Picard has like a similar setup where it's like one long season long arc, but because I actually care about those characters and because it's consistent within the Star Trek universe, I absolutely ate that up. But also, I kind of really want a new Star Trek that's episodic. So that's also why I love the Orville. Plugging another show if you guys are looking for stuff. And then, because I've only had it for a few days, I've watched one episode of the new Twilight Zone, and it was really good. I'm definitely going to watch the rest of that season. And I've watched The Odd Couple, which is a sitcom. It's based off an older television show and play, also called The Odd Couple, except it's modernized to 2020, with Matthew Perry in it. And the first episode, the pilot, was awesome, although it's still a sitcom, so I don't really get invested in sitcoms the same way that I get invested in sci-fi fantasy stories, so it's still low on my, I wouldn't keep CBS All Access just for this show. And honestly, I don't think I'm keeping CBS All Access now that I've watched Picard until, the next season of Picard comes up, because the rest of this, I'm just, I don't care that much. Okay, and then the one streaming service that I consistently always pay for is Netflix, because it has so much stuff happening, and the originals are also consistently good. So having said that, the shows I've been watching aren't necessarily originals. I've been watching Star Trek The Next Generation. It's my fallback Star Trek. It's my favorite. I'm at the end of season 6 now, which are a lot of episodes that I don't remember watching for the first time. But there are also episodes that start getting experimental and I don't care as much about them. Which is why I probably don't remember them in the first place. So I'm at a weird place right now. But Next Generation consistently has the best crew and the best overall cast. So I still love it. It's my favorite series. I've also been watching My Little Pony, obviously. Even though the show ended, I've just gone right back and I've been rewatching it. Sometimes I skip around and pick a favorite episode or something that feels like it's in the moment. And sometimes I'll just watch wherever I picked up next and just watch 3 episodes in a row. I find My Little Pony very soothing and calming. I love the pastel colors. The ponies have a very simplistic outlook on life. Everything can be solved with friendship. There are villains. Some of them are really, really scary. But ultimately things aren't ever going to get that crazy because it's a kid's show. So, and also the villains can have really complex backstories too, like Discord and Queen Chrysalis. So, yes, I'm still watching My Little Pony, guys. Earlier in the month of March, I was watching Outlander and Supergirl as I was getting ready for Comic-Con, and they did have cast members from both those shows at for Cleveland Wizard World Comic-Con. So I watched both of those. They're shows that I kind of like, but I'm not super majorly invested in. Outlander, I really like the storytelling and the characters, but sometimes it's just too graphic. So this is a show about a nurse from 1945, right after World War II ends, who gets transported back in time to the 1780s, I think, in Scotland during the time of the clans, and right before the clans really start falling. And while she's there, she ends up getting mixed up with one of the clans, in particular one of the guys named Jamie, who she ends up having to marry for like protection, but also ends up like really loving. But she's still got a husband back in 1945, and she's trying to reconcile the time travel and her feelings about these two guys that she really loves, and she's like trying to get back. So I love the concept of the show, and I love the book, but also it's so graphic. There's so much violence, there's so much blood, there's like a massive episode that involves entirely around rape, like really deep, dark stuff, and so I can't watch a lot of Outlander all at once. And then Supergirl, which is about Clark Kent, Superman's cousin, who originally started off being older than him, but then she gets trapped in some kind of time stream, and so she ends up coming to Earth later than him, and so he's grown up in the meantime, and so they have this weird dynamic where they've swapped. And Superman only shows up for a few episodes also, like he guest stars. So it's mostly about Supergirl, Kara Danvers, and how she's dealing with having superpowers and deciding to be a superhero and use them. And it's a really good show with tons of diversity, really awesome feminist agenda. Just, I love Supergirl. But also the whole CW timeline of things, and like I hate the crossovers where I feel like I have to watch all of them to like really know what's happening. So as much as I love Supergirl and The Flash, like investing in all of the shows, it's becoming too much. So I've only really seen the first couple seasons. Yeah. I've also been watching Sex Education, which is a British television show about high schoolers. In particular, the one high schooler, the main character, his mom is a licensed sex therapist, and so he's grown up with all these like conversations and like knowledge about this stuff. I think both his parents are actually licensed sex therapists, although he just lives with his mom. So he's giving advice to other high schoolers about sex, and really having sex education, even though he's still a virgin, which is just, it's really funny, but also really good on being like factually accurate, and encouraging like open dialogue and like actually understanding what's happening and practicing safe sex. It's pretty fascinating. I only watch like a couple episodes at a time though. Like I don't know that I find it that compelling that I sit down and like binge watch episodes. And then the last one I have on here is Crash Landing on You, which actually I watched in April, but I binge watched like all of it. This is a South Korean drama. It is in a different language, in Korean, and it's about this heiress from South Korea who has a paragliding accident. She ends up crash landing in the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. She panics and runs for the border, except she runs for the North Korean border, and because of the freak storm that ended up tossing her into the demilitarized zone in the first place, the like defenses aren't working, the electricity's out, so she makes it into North Korea and then gets stuck there. And so a good portion of the show is her trying to get back, with the help of the North Korean guards who accidentally let her in because they don't want to admit that they messed up. So after they had like this one moment where they could have like captured her and like turned her in, but like they went soft and didn't, and now they're afraid that they'll get caught too and like get punished. So we see her living in North Korea, and then when she does get back to South Korea, there's like all these things on these complications because she fell in love with one of the guards and she made friends with all these people, and so it's a really fascinating look at North and South Korean life, and it's kind of hopeful that like someday maybe they could stop fighting and like that edge to like things could be different. So that's it. There is my watch list for the last month or so. Let me know what you guys have been watching. Mostly I've been watching television shows. I feel like there should probably be a whole nother list of like my favorite movies to watch when I need comforting. And we'll probably do that in the next couple weeks. So let me know in the comments below, what are your favorite shows? Are you watching any of these? Did you have different takes on any of these shows than the way I described them? I am slowly starting to get back into books, so hopefully I will have more reviews coming. I've actually gotten caught up in my book reviews. I've got one left on the computer to edit, which may or may not be up before this video, and then one more that I'm filming today. But like, I need to read more books because that's the main content of my channel. Or we're gonna have a ton of videos that aren't about books at all. One of these two things is gonna happen. So stay safe, stay sane, wash your hands. Peace out. I love you guys, and keep reading. Bye.